The moment my stepmother threw my mother's wedding dress into the fire pit during my dad's birthday party, I knew she'd finally shown her true colors. But when my 8-year-old daughter, Hazel, grabbed her pink backpack and asked if she should show everyone the videos of what Veda does while Daddy's at work, the entire backyard went silent. Even the flames seemed to pause. I should probably start by saying, I'm not someone who looks for drama. My name is Melinda. I'm 36 years old and I teach 3rd grade at Riverside Elementary here in Ohio. My life revolves around lesson plans, parent-teacher conferences, and raising my daughter Hazel as a single mom after my ex-husband decided he wasn't ready for family life when she was just 2. Most evenings, you'll find me grading papers at my kitchen table, while Hazel practices her multiplication tables or reads her favorite Junie B. Jones books. My father, Robert, is the kind of man who's worn the same style of glasses for 30 years and still does the crossword puzzle every Sunday morning with a number 2 pencil. He runs a small accounting firm downtown, the same one he started with my mom's encouragement back when I was in middle school. He's predictable in the best way, or at least he was, until Veda came into our lives. My mother, Diane, died 3 years ago. Cancer took her slowly, then all at once, the way cancer does. She spent her last months in the house where she'd raised me, tending her garden until she couldn't anymore, leaving notes and recipe boxes for me to find, recording videos for Hazel's future birthdays. She was grace personified, even at the end. Dad held her hand when she passed, and I watched something in him break that day, something I wasn't sure would ever heal. Then came Veda. She appeared at our church one Sunday, sitting 3 pews behind us, her perfectly manicured nails holding a hymnal she never actually opened. She was 42, though she claimed 38, with auburn hair that came from a salon bottle and clothes that suggested money she'd later reveal she didn't actually have. After service, she approached Dad at the coffee and donuts table, commenting on his sermon discussion points, laughing at his accounting jokes that Mom used to just smile politely at. "Your father deserves happiness," my Aunt Phyllis had said when Dad first started bringing Veda around. Phyllis is my mother's sister, 5 years younger but decades wiser, the kind of woman who can spot a fake Louis Vuitton or a fake person from across a room. But that woman smiles like she's calculating interest rates. My Uncle Jerome, Dad's brother, was more direct. Jerome had spent 30 years as a police officer before retiring to run a security consulting firm. "Something's off about her," he'd muttered at their engagement party. "She asks too many questions about the wrong things. Your mom asked about people's kids, their health, their dreams. Veda asks about vacation homes and investment, portfolios." But Dad was smitten. For the first time since Mom's death, he hummed while making breakfast. He bought new suits. He started using cologne again, the same woodsy scent Mom had bought him every Christmas. When he looked at Veda, his eyes lit up like someone had finally turned the lights back on in a dark room. Hazel, my daughter, has my mother's eyes, and a wisdom that sometimes startles me. She's 8 but observes like she's 80, filing away details other kids would miss. She loved her grandmother fiercely in the short time they had together, and Mom's death hit her hard. She'd been cautiously optimistic about Veda at first. "She smells like the perfume counter at Macy's," Hazel had whispered after first meeting her. "Too many kinds mixed together." The wedding happened fast, too fast. 6 months after that first church meeting, Veda was walking down an aisle made of white runner carpet in our backyard, past Mom's rose bushes and tomato plants, wearing a dress that cost more than Dad usually spent in 3 months. She'd insisted on the backyard venue, calling it quaint and intimate, though I suspected she just didn't want to pay for a proper venue. Now, 3 months into their marriage, standing in this same backyard with 50 guests watching Mom's wedding dress burn in the fire pit, with my daughter about to expose the truth about our new stepmother, I realized every red flag we'd ignored was about to unfold in Technicolor. Dad stood frozen by the drink table, his face the color of ash. Veda was still smiling her calculating smile, not yet realizing that her own cruelty had just triggered her downfall. The party that was supposed to celebrate Dad's 58th birthday was about to become something else entirely. 3 years after losing my mother, Diane, to cancer, I thought Dad deserved happiness again. When he introduced us to Veda at a family dinner, she seemed perfect. charming, attentive, always bringing Hazel little gifts and asking about my teaching job at Riverside Elementary. Dad's eyes lit up around her in a way I hadn't seen since Mom got sick. That first dinner took place on a Thursday evening in March. I remember because Hazel had just won her class spelling bee that day, and we were celebrating at Dad's house with his famous spaghetti carbonara, the one dish he'd mastered during Mom's chemo treatments. Veda arrived carrying an expensive bottle of wine and a children's book about brave princesses for Hazel. "Your father tells me you're the best third-grade teacher in the district," Veda said, settling into Mom's chair at the dining table like she'd been doing it for years. "That must be so rewarding, shaping young minds." The conversation flowed easily. She asked intelligent questions about Common Core standards, listened attentively to Hazel's story about the spelling bee, and even helped clear the dishes without being asked. When she laughed at Dad's terrible pun about the pasta being impastable, to resist, I saw him relax in a way he hadn't in years. "She makes me feel alive again, Melinda," Dad told me one evening as we cleaned up after Sunday dinner. "I know no one can replace your mother, but Veda understands that. She respects Diane's memory." I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe him. The loneliness in his eyes had been unbearable to watch. He'd taken to eating cereal for dinner when I wasn't there to check on him, leaving the TV on all night for company, keeping Mom's coffee mug exactly where she'd left it that last morning. The courtship moved quickly. Within 2 months, Veda had a drawer at Dad's house. Within 4, she was helping him pick new frames for his reading glasses and scheduling his dental appointments. She brought order to the chaos grief had left behind, organizing his scattered bills, restocking his empty refrigerator, even getting him to join a book club at the library. "Your mother would approve," Aunt Phyllis admitted reluctantly after watching Veda handle Dad's diabetes medication schedule with the efficiency of a nurse. "She's taking care of him." The proposal happened at the church spring picnic. Dad got down on one knee right there by the dessert table, his voice shaking as he asked Veda to marry him. She cried perfectly, just enough to seem moved, but not enough to ruin her makeup. The congregation applauded. Hazel threw flower petals from her paper plate. I stood there holding a plate of potato salad, trying to smile while something cold settled in my stomach. The wedding happened fast. 6 months after they met, Veda took charge of everything with remarkable efficiency. "Simple and elegant," she kept saying, though her definition of simple included hiring a string quartet and importing orchids from Florida. Hazel was their flower girl, scattering rose petals down the aisle of our backyard where Mom had planted her garden. The ceremony was beautiful, I had to admit. Veda had strung lights through Mom's apple tree and set up chairs in perfect rows across the lawn. Dad had finally started mowing again. "Welcome to the family," I'd said, hugging her after they exchanged vows. She'd held me a beat too long, whispered in my ear, "I'm going to take such good care of him, you'll see." Veda moved into the house where I'd grown up, the house where Mom's presence still lingered in every carefully chosen curtain and family photo. At first, the changes were subtle. Mom's collection of ceramic birds migrated from the living room shelf to a box in the basement, for safekeeping. The lace doilies Mom had crocheted disappeared, replaced by modern glass coasters. The living room repainted from Mom's warm yellow to stark white. "Just freshening things up," Veda would say with that practiced smile whenever I noticed something missing. "Your father deserves a space that doesn't feel like a museum." Dad seemed happy, so I held my tongue. He was showering regularly again, wearing ironed shirts, attending his Rotary Club meetings. He'd started laughing at sitcoms instead of staring through them. When Veda suggested they take ballroom dancing lessons, he actually agreed. Watching them practice their foxtrot in the kitchen where Mom used to dance alone to the radio while cooking, I felt a complicated mix of grief and gratitude. After all, I had my own life, my own home with Hazel just 15 minutes away. If Dad could find happiness again, if Veda could fill even a fraction of the void Mom left behind, who was I to object? Love appeared different the second time around, I told myself. More practical, less poetic. I should have paid attention to the way Veda's smile never quite reached her eyes. Everything changed the week before Dad's 58th birthday party. I'd stopped by to drop off decorations when I found Veda in the master bedroom, pulling Mom's clothes from the closet. The scene was surreal. Mom's dresses lay across the bed like colorful ghosts. Her favorite blue cardigan crumpled in a donation box. Her church shoes lined up by the door like soldiers being discharged. Veda moved with mechanical efficiency, not even glancing at the items she was discarding. 30 years of memories treated like expired coupons. "Oh, Melinda, perfect timing. I'm donating these to charity. Your father needs to move forward, don't you think?" My chest tightened, seeing Mom's Christmas sweater, the one with the reindeer that she wore every December, tossed carelessly into a garbage bag. That sweater still smelled like her perfume. White shoulders, the only scent she ever wore. Dad said he wanted to keep her things. I managed, my voice steadier than my hands. Veda's laugh was like ice cracking. "Men don't know what they need. Trust me, holding on to the past is unhealthy. I'm helping him heal." She picked up Mom's pearl necklace, the one Dad gave her for their 20th anniversary, examined it like a jeweler assessing its worth, then dropped it into her personal jewelry box instead of the donation pile. "That's not your decision to make," I said, reaching for Mom's clothes. She blocked my path, her manicured hand pressing against my shoulder. "Actually, as his wife, it is. This is my home now. This was my mother's home for 30 years. You've been here 6 months. And in those 6 months, I've done more for your father's mental health than you managed in 3 years. Her voice dropped to a whisper that felt like a slap. "He was drowning, Melinda. Drowning in grief and memories. And this shrine you all expected him to maintain. I'm saving him." The argument escalated. I grabbed Mom's wedding dress from the closet, the ivory silk cool against my hot hands. Veda tried to wrestle it from me, her nails leaving small crescents in my wrist. "You're being childish," she hissed. "It's just a dress." "It's her wedding dress." Dad walked in just as I was saying. "Mom lived in this house for 30 years. You've been here for 6 months. His face went through a series of expressions: surprise, discomfort, then something worse. Resignation. "Melinda, please," Dad said, and I couldn't believe it. He was taking her side. "Veda's just trying to help. Maybe it is time to let some things go." "Dad, she's throwing away everything." "Not everything, sweetheart, just some old clothes. Veda needs space too. This is her home now." The betrayal felt physical, like something breaking in my chest. I looked at him standing there in his weekend khakis, the ones Mom bought him, defending this woman's systematic erasure of our family history. I left with Mom's wedding dress, the only thing I managed to save. Veda's expression as I carried it out was pure venom. At the doorway, she called out sweetly, "Sunday dinner is still at 5, dear. I'm making my famous pot roast." Mom's famous pot roast recipe, I wanted to scream. The one she found in Mom's recipe box and now claimed as her own. Over the next few days, Veda began her campaign. She called Dad while he was at work, her voice carrying through his office phone, loud enough for his secretary to hear. "I'm just concerned about Melinda's hostility. She seems unable to accept our marriage." She told Aunt Phyllis that I'd been aggressive and possibly unstable during our confrontation. "I'm worried about her influence on poor little Hazel," she'd said at their coffee date, knowing Phyllis would relay every word to me. She suggested to Dad's friends at the Rotary Club that I might be jealous, too attached, in need of professional help. "It's natural," she said with fake sympathy. She never properly grieved her mother. Classic manipulation, but Dad bought every word. When I tried to explain my side, he looked tired, older than his 58 years. "Your mom would want us all to be happy," he said during a strained phone call. "Veda's trying so hard with you, Melinda. Can't you meet her halfway?" Halfway would mean she respects Mom's memory. She does. She kept all the photos up, didn't she? She maintains the garden. He was right about the photos, but wrong about the garden. I'd seen the professional landscaping estimate on his desk, Veda's plan to tear out Mom's roses and install a modern rock garden with drought-resistant architectural plants. By Thursday, 3 days before the party, I was officially uninvited from helping with preparations. "Too much tension," Veda explained to anyone who'd listen. "We want Robert's birthday to be peaceful." But Hazel was still invited for her Friday night sleepover. They couldn't exclude an 8-year-old without looking heartless. The night before Dad's party, Hazel had a sleepover at Dad's house. When I picked her up the next morning, she was unusually quiet. She climbed into the car wearing the same unicorn t-shirt from yesterday, her overnight bag dragging behind her like it weighed 100 pounds. Her usual chatter about breakfast pancakes or Saturday morning cartoons was absent. Instead, she stared out the window, her fingers twisted in her lap. "Mommy, does Grandpa know Veda has friends over when he's at work?" My hands froze on the steering wheel. I forced myself to keep driving, to sound casual even as alarm bells rang in my head. "What kind of friends, sweetheart?" "Men friends. They drink wine in the afternoon and laugh really loud. Veda told me it's our secret game, but I don't like secrets that feel icky." I pulled into a grocery store parking lot, turned off the engine, and shifted to face my daughter. Her eyes were troubled in a way that made my maternal instincts scream. "Tell me everything, baby. You're not in trouble." Hazel took a deep breath. "Yesterday, when Grandpa went to work after lunch, Veda said I should take a nap in the guest room. But I couldn't sleep because a car came and a man visited. They sat really close on the couch and drank from Grandma's special glasses, the ones with the gold edges." My mind raced. I'd noticed Veda always had expensive new jewelry, designer bags Dad couldn't afford on his accounting firm income. She'd claimed they were gifts from her successful sister in California, the one who never visited, never called, possibly didn't exist. "Has this happened before?" Hazel nodded. "Lots of times when I stay over. Different men. One brought her a shiny bracelet and she kissed him on the mouth. That's when she saw me watching and said it was our special secret game, and good girls keep secrets." My anger was volcanic, but I kept my voice steady. "Hazel, have you ever seen these friends?" She nodded, then reached for her backpack. "I took videos on my tablet when I was supposed to be napping. Veda doesn't know I know how to use the camera. Want to see?" I pulled out Hazel's tablet, the one we'd given her for educational games. My brilliant, brave daughter had figured out the camera app and documented everything. The first video was shaky but clear. Veda in Mom's living room, wearing a silk robe at 2 in the afternoon, pouring wine for a man in an expensive suit. "Gary, you spoil me," Veda's recorded voice purred as she accepted a jewelry box. The next clip showed a different day. A different man, this one younger, touching Veda's face while she sat in Dad's leather recliner. "Paul's at his boring office until 6, she laughed. "We have hours." "Paul?" She called my father Paul. His name was Robert. More videos. Veda showing a man Dad's home office, laughing about her boring old husband and his predictable routine. Veda trying on expensive clothes while a man watched from Mom's antique settee. Veda counting cash on the kitchen table where we ate Sunday dinners. "Baby, why didn't you tell me sooner?" Hazel's eyes filled with tears. "Veda said if I told anyone, Grandpa would be sad and it would be my fault. But yesterday she was mean to you about Grandma's things, and I don't want her to be mean anymore. And she called Grandma's pictures ugly when she thought I was sleeping. Nobody calls Grandma ugly." I hugged my daughter tight, feeling her small body tremble against mine. "You did the right thing. You're the bravest girl I know. We're going to handle this, but I need you to be brave today at Grandpa's party, okay?" "Are we going to show Grandpa?" "We're going to show everyone. Veda needs to be stopped." I drove straight to Aunt Phyllis's house. She took one look at my face and ushered us inside. Uncle Jerome was there for their Saturday morning coffee tradition. I showed them the videos, watching their expressions shift from skepticism to shock to fury. "That manipulative witch," Phyllis breathed, "in Diane's house, in her bed." Jerome was already on his phone. "My buddy Tom handles divorces. He'll want copies of everything." He looked at Hazel with pride. "You've got your grandma's smarts, kiddo. She would be so proud." We formed a plan. Jerome would transfer the videos to a USB drive and connect it to the outdoor TV system Dad had installed for watching football games on the patio. Phyllis would make sure all the right people were within viewing distance when it happened. I would wear Mom's wedding dress to the party, knowing it would provoke Veda into showing her true colors publicly. "She'll go nuclear when she sees the dress," Phyllis warned. "I'm counting on it. When she attacks me, Hazel will know it's time to speak up about the videos." I retrieved Mom's wedding dress from my closet, feeling like she was guiding me. Today at Dad's party, the truth would finally come out. The party was in full swing when it happened. 50 guests mingled in the backyard, the same yard where Dad and Veda had married. I'd purposely worn Mom's wedding dress, altered to fit me. Veda's eyes narrowed when she saw it. The dress caught everyone's attention as I walked through the garden gate. Mom's ivory silk gown, shortened and taken in at the waist, moved like water in the afternoon sun. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Mrs. Patterson from Dad's office actually gasped. Dad stood by the grill with Uncle Jerome, his burger flipper frozen in midair. Veda stalked across the lawn in her designer heels, each step puncturing the grass. She wore red, of course, a tight dress that cost more than most people's mortgage payments. Her face had that painted-on smile, but her eyes were murderous. "Interesting choice for a birthday party," she said loud enough for others to hear. "Wearing your dead mother's dress? That's a bit morbid, don't you think, Robert?" Dad shifted uncomfortably, setting down his spatula. His face was a mix of confusion and embarrassment. "Melinda, maybe—" "It's inappropriate," Veda interrupted, her voice rising to ensure maximum audience. "This is supposed to be a celebration of Robert's life now, not a shrine to the past." She moved closer, her perfume aggressive and cloying. "You need help, Melinda. This obsession with your mother isn't healthy. I've been telling Robert for weeks that you need professional intervention." "The only intervention needed here is the truth," I said calmly. Her face twisted. In one swift motion, she grabbed the dress suddenly, her nails catching the delicate fabric. The sound of tearing silk cut through the party chatter like a scream. "You know what? I'm done with this family's obsession with Diane." Before anyone could react, she yanked harder, ripping the sleeve completely off. Then she marched to the fire pit where Uncle Jerome had been grilling. The flames were still dancing from the afternoon's burger cooking. In one violent motion, she threw the dress into the flames. "Time to make room for the new wife," she declared triumphantly, her voice carrying across the stunned crowd. The dress caught immediately, ivory silk turning orange, then black. 30 years of memories, the dress Mom had worn when she promised to love Dad forever, consumed in seconds. The crowd fell silent. Then, horrifyingly, a few of Veda's friends began to clap. Her yoga instructor, her hairdresser, 2 women from her book club, all applauding like this was performance art. Dad just stood there, frozen, watching Mom's dress burn. His face was gray, his mouth opening and closing without sound. That's when Hazel ran forward with her pink backpack. "Daddy," she said, her young voice cutting through the tension like a bell, "should I show everyone what Veda does when you're at work?" The word Daddy stopped everyone. Hazel never called him Daddy anymore, only Grandpa. But in her nervousness, she'd reverted to what she used to call him when she was smaller, when Grandma was alive. Dad's face went white. "What are you talking about, sweetheart?" Veda lunged for the backpack. "She's just a child with an imagination." But Hazel had already handed the tablet to Uncle Jerome, who was ready. Within seconds, he'd connected it to the outdoor TV we'd set up for the party. The 60-inch screen flickered to life. Suddenly, there was Veda on the screen, wineglass in hand, sitting on a stranger's lap in Dad's living room. The image was crystal clear, the audio perfect. "My husband's at his boring office," her recorded voice rang out across the silent party. "He has no idea how I spend his money or my afternoons." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a plate. The next clip showed her accepting an expensive bracelet from another man, this one younger than Dad by 20 years. "You're so much more exciting than Robert," she purred on screen. "He's sweet, but God, so dull. Still talks about his dead wife like she was some kind of saint." Dad made a sound like he'd been punched. Phyllis grabbed his arm to steady him. More clips played. Veda giving a tour of Dad's home office to a stranger, mocking his organizational system. Veda counting a stack of bills on Mom's kitchen table. Veda in Mom's bed with someone who definitely wasn't Dad, the wedding photo on the nightstand turned face down. "You burned my sister's dress," Aunt Phyllis said, stepping forward, her voice shaking with rage. "The dress she wore when she married Robert, when she was young and full of hope. You destroyed it like it was garbage while carrying on with men in her bed." "Those videos are fake," Veda shrieked, but even her friends were backing away. Her yoga instructor was already heading for the gate. Dad finally spoke, his voice broken but firm. Get out of my house." "Your house?" Veda laughed bitterly. "I'm your wife. I have rights. Half of everything is mine." "Not anymore," Uncle Jerome said, holding up his phone. "Robert's attorney. My golf buddy Tom already has copies of everything. And these videos, they'll make sure you don't get a penny. Adultery, fraud, and we're just getting started. Veda turned to Dad, tried one last manipulation. Robert, please, I love you. These are misunderstandings. But Dad was looking at the still burning remains of Mom's dress, then at Hazel's brave little face, then at me in my torn sleeve. Leave now, or I call the police, he said quietly. As Veda's car screeched out of the driveway, Dad pulled me and Hazel into his arms, sobbing apologies. The guests dispersed quietly, the party abandoned. We sat by the dying fire pit, watching the last embers of Mom's dress glow in the darkness. I'm so sorry, Melinda. Your mother's dress, everything. I should have listened. The tears came then, for both of us. Not just for the dress, but for the innocence lost, the trust broken, the memories that witch had tried to steal. Dad's shoulders shook as he held us, repeating apologies that I didn't need to hear. The man who'd always been my rock was crumbling, and somehow that made me stronger. The dress was just fabric, Dad. Mom's real legacy is in the values she taught us. Honesty, loyalty, family. Veda could burn the dress, but she could never touch that. Aunt Phyllis had salvaged a small piece of unburned lace from the dress's hem. She held it up in the fading light, this delicate remnant that had somehow survived. Diane's wedding veil was made from this same lace, she said. Her mother's before that. Maybe someday Hazel can carry on the tradition. Dad looked at Hazel, who was curled up against him, her tablet tucked away in her backpack like a weapon she'd never have to use again. You were so brave, sweetheart, but you should never have had to keep such a big secret. Mom says secrets that feel icky are usually bad secrets, Hazel said simply, and Grandma Diane wouldn't want you to be with someone who lies. The next morning, Dad changed the locks. Veda sent her brother to collect her things, but Jerome supervised every box, making sure nothing of Mom's disappeared. We found 3 pieces of Mom's jewelry in Veda's drawer, 2 of Dad's watches, and bizarrely, Mom's recipe box hidden in a suitcase. She'd been planning to take everything that mattered piece by piece until there was nothing left of our family's history. 3 months later, the divorce was final. Veda fought for alimony, but the evidence was overwhelming. The forensic accountant Uncle Jerome recommended discovered she'd opened credit cards in Dad's name, funneled money from his business account, and sold items from the house on online marketplaces. The men in the videos came forward when subpoenaed, each telling similar stories of Veda's promises, her lies about being in an unhappy marriage, her requests for money. Dad underwent therapy to understand how he'd been manipulated, how grief had made him vulnerable to someone who love-bombed him with attention while secretly despising our family's history. Dr. Morrison, his therapist, helped him see that Veda had targeted him specifically because he was a widower, because she knew he'd be lonely, grateful, less likely to question her motives. Predators know how to find grief, Dr. Morrison had said. They see it as an opportunity. He redecorated the house again, not to erase Mom, but to blend the past with the present. Her photos returned to the mantel, alongside newer ones of all of us. The garden she'd planted flourished under his care. He even took a master gardener class to better tend her roses, spending Saturday mornings pruning and feeding them while telling them about his week, the way Mom used to. I think I needed to learn that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting, he told me one afternoon as we weeded Mom's roses. Diane was my past, yes, but she's also part of my present through you and Hazel. Anyone who couldn't accept that was never right for this family. The community rallied around Dad in unexpected ways. The Rotary Club members who'd witnessed the party brought him dinners for weeks. Mrs. Patterson from his office set him up with a grief support group for widowers, warning him about common manipulation tactics that target vulnerable men. Even the church ladies who'd initially loved Veda admitted they'd noticed things but hadn't wanted to interfere. Hazel learned that standing up for truth, even when adults tell you not to, is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. She started seeing the school counselor to process what happened, to understand that adults who ask children to keep icky secrets are always wrong. She's stronger now, more confident, quicker to speak up in class and stand up to playground bullies. And me, I learned that a mother's love transcends death, living on in the courage of a granddaughter she never met but somehow helped protect our family anyway. I learned that Dad's happiness matters, but not at the cost of our family's truth. I learned that sometimes things need to burn away to show what's real underneath. The wedding dress was gone, but its sacrifice had revealed the truth. What's real? Family, love, loyalty. No fire can destroy. Mom would have gladly sacrificed 1,000 dresses to protect Dad from that woman. In the end, her dress did what she no longer could. It saved him. If you found value in this story of standing up for family and truth, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us that love and justice always find a way. Thank you for listening. Determination to protect his family, a son's courage to speak truth, and the ultimate failure of hatred disguised as love. Roland was right in his final recording. Life isn't about reaching the highest peak. It's about who stands beside you while you climb. Vera never understood that, and it cost her everything: her son, her freedom, and any chance at redemption. If you found this story compelling, please take a moment to like this video and share it with others who might need to hear it. Your comments mean everything to us as we share these powerful, true stories of courage, survival, and justice. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of the strength found in truth and the power of speaking up, even when our voices shake. Thank you for listening to Roland's story, told through the eyes of those who loved him most.